LeBron James has been great for so long that people forget a lot of the other phenomenal players who he played against. Not to mention, the NBA has been littered with so many amazing players the past 2 decades, it's no surprise that so many have come and gone and are somewhat forgotten. Well, not anymore! This one is dedicated to the stars of the recently finished era who don't get enough love. Hit the like button, subscribe, and let's get into it. First up, we have Rip Hamilton. Richard Hamilton was a mask-wearing mid-range terrorist. He was constantly moving on offense, so defenders had a tough time keeping him in check. Rip played 14 seasons and ended his career averaging 17 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. Most of Rip's career was spent with the Detroit Pistons, where he won a championship in 2004 and was a 3-time All-Star from 2006 to 2008. This man was such a hooper that against a rookie LeBron in 2003, Rip put up 44 points. But if we're talking about forgotten stars, we can't leave out Jermaine O'Neil. Jermaine O'Neil played 18 seasons in the NBA from 1996 to 2014. During that time, he was selected as an NBA All-Star 6 times and made 3 All-NBA teams. He was only 17 years old when he got drafted straight out of high school and was the second youngest to ever play in an NBA game when he debuted for the Portland Trail Blazers at 18 years old in 1996. O'Neil averaged 13 points, 7 rebounds, and almost 2 assists for his career and didn't face all that well against the King. But let's move on from the front court to the back court with Baron Davis. Trust me, man, Baron Davis was an absolute force when he was playing. His size made him a nightmare matchup for most guards who were much smaller than him. He was also an on-ball defensive menace, so much so that he led the NBA in steals twice. One night against LeBron, he had 5 in one game, but he still averaged 16 points, 7 rebounds, and almost 2 steals from 1999 to 2012. And talking of versatile players, let's talk about the Matrix, Shawn Marion. Marion played 16 seasons in the NBA from 99 to 2015, and he won a ring with the Dallas Mavericks in 2011. The Matrix shooting form was not the prettiest in the league, but his length and athleticism allowed him to play multiple positions. Marion was a 4-time All-Star and made the All-NBA team twice. He is one of only 6 players in the history of the NBA to get to at least 1,500 steals and 1,000 blocks in his career. Those are Hall of Fame type numbers, kind of like this move.
Mark, why on earth would he say that? No need. You want to get in trouble, that's when you open up your mouth. Continue to get it done.
And if injuries didn't derail this next guy's career, Danny Granger might have been in that Hall of Fame conversation. Danny would have been the Paul George before Paul George if injuries hadn't taken a toll on his career. They would have had Danny Granger, PG-13, Roy Hibbert, David West, and a host of other talent around them. Granger was a great shooter and a scoring machine. He made one All-Star team in 2009 and gave LeBron a run for his money a couple of times in the Eastern Conference Finals. But the injury story just made him never live up to his potential. But on the talk of potential, here's a guy who reached it with one of the toughest defensive mentalities in NBA history, Metta Artest. Some of you may know him as Ron Artest or Metta World Peace due to his several name changes. In addition to being known for his multiple name changes, Ron is also known to be one of the most hard-nosed defenders of his era. He is 22nd on the NBA all-time steals list and was named the NBA's Defender of the Year in 2004. For his best 7 seasons, he averaged 18, 5, and 3. He even put up a 30-piece against LeBron once. But if we're talking about truly forgotten stars during LeBron's time, Kemba Walker has to be close to the top of the list. Kemba spent most of his career in Charlotte. He was an undersized guard, but man, could he put the ball in the basket. Kemba averaged 19, 5, and 3 with a stretch of 5 seasons where he averaged over 20 points. The man was one of the first players to sign a multi-year shoe deal with Under Armour. He made the NBA All-Star team 4 times and an All-NBA team once, but sadly never showed out playing LeBron. What a sad stat. Next man up is Brandon Roy. And man, Brandon's story is also kind of sad. Brandon Roy was special. He had it all. He could shoot, was freakishly athletic, and could finish with ease around the rim. The man was legitimately so good that if injuries didn't crash his career, I'm convinced he was Hall of Fame bound. He won Rookie of the Year in 2007, and in his first couple of seasons when he was somewhat healthy, he made 2 All-NBA teams and 3 NBA All-Star teams. I mean, just look at my brother. Now, let's talk about a guy who was actually one injury away from superstardom. Mr. Back Up That Brinks Truck is 9th on the list, Isaiah Thomas himself. Isaiah Thomas emerged as a great offensive threat during his time in Boston. He played 14 years in the NBA and is currently in the NBA G League dominating. IT is one of those players whose career was literally thrown out by injury. He was expecting a big payday from Boston until he got that major hip injury in the 2016-17 season, and he was never the same. But if we're talking about great point guards from the LeBron era, we have to mention Deron Williams. D-Will was the second best guard to come out of the 2005 NBA draft, with CP3 being the first. He split most of his career between the Utah Jazz and the Brooklyn Nets, but was a pass-first point guard who averaged over 7 assists per game for 8 seasons and over 10 assists for 4 of those. D-Will was named an All-Star 3 times and made the All-NBA team twice. Boy was fire in the ISOs. But if we're talking about elite isolation scorers, we can't forget ISO Joe, Mr. Torture Chamber. He's a 7-time All-Star who played an incredible 21 seasons in the league. For his career, he averaged 16 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. ISO Joe is on a very short list of players to have scored 20,000 career points. His best career stint was with the Atlanta Hawks, where during those 7 seasons from 2005 to 2012, Joe put up 20.9 points, 5.2 assists, and 4.2 rebounds. And speaking of some beast hoopers at the 3 position during the LeBron era, a couple of small forwards that were so far ahead of their time, only a few in the game to date have been able to match what they brought to the court. I'm talking about Peja, Stojakovic, and Rashard Lewis. These 2 guys were lethal shooters who stood at 6'10", playing at the small forward. Peja, the Serbian sniper, shot over 40% from 3 throughout his career and won the NBA three-point contest twice. Watch my recent video on him here. Remember, this guy was 6'10". Can you imagine how difficult it was to guard him? On the other end, Rashard Lewis shot over 45% from the field and averaged over 16 points per game for 8 seasons. Both of these guys won a championship, Peja with Dallas and Lewis with Miami. Moving on to floor generals, we can't leave out Rajon Rondo, rivaling CP3 for the point god title. Rondo was one of the best, maybe top 10 true point guards who have ever played. He spent the first part of his career in Boston, where he won a championship alongside Ray Allen and Paul Pierce. He was known for being a floor general throughout his 16-year career and was true entertainment at that. He led the league in assists 3 times and was no slouch on defense either, leading the league in steals once in 2010. Speaking of a forgotten point guard, we have John Wall. a guy who was once one of the most electrifying point guards in the league. The man seemed to have just faded off the basketball scene over recent years. But when he was playing alongside Beal in Washington, the team had a top 3 backcourt duo in the league. John Wall could score at will, averaging 18 points for his career. His preferred number was 11, but the Wizards said, "We put that one away for Elvin Hayes, bud. Try again." So he said 1 + 1 = 2, and he wore number 2. Probably being the second best Washington player ever, even though he wasn't much of a shooter. Unlike a man you definitely forgot about, Andrei Kirilenko, the guy we know as AK-47. Andrei was a Russian beast. He was the youngest European to be drafted in the NBA when he was drafted by the Jazz in 1999. His immaculate wing defense earned him 3 NBA All-Defense Team selections, and he was the NBA blocks leader in 2005. AK-47 was named to the All-Star team in 2004 and was a pretty rare staple playing over a decade in Utah. Now let's talk about a pure scorer you also forgot about, Michael Redd. Redd was a flamethrower in his best seasons. He played 12 seasons in the league and averaged over 21 points per game in 6 of those seasons. Michael made 1 All-Star and 1 All-NBA team. He's arguably one of the best players to have been drafted in the second round of the draft. Unfortunately, knee injuries played a part in Redd's exit from the NBA. It's a part of the game, but he definitely would have been a great. Just like Amar'e Stoudemire, this man was no joke. For his 15 seasons in the league, he basically averaged 19 points and 7 rebounds, good enough for 7 All-Star selections and 5 All-NBA team selections. Stat could leap out of the gym. Playing with a great guard like Steve Nash, he absolutely feasted around the rim. He's one of the few guys on this list that you look at and can say he could dominate in any era. Speaking of a man who shadowed an era, let's talk about one of the best shooters in NBA history, Kyle Korver. Korver is one of the best shooters to have ever played the game. Sometimes I wonder if guys like K-Squared were playing in today's era, how dangerous he'd be from behind the arc. Korver was the Klay Thompson before Klay. Listen to this. Korver has the highest single season 3-point percentage at 53.6%, done in 2010. He is the only player to hold the best 3-point percentage in 4 different seasons. To top it off, he is 8th on the all-time threes made list, even though he only attempted 4 per game. For perspective, Curry attempts 9 and Klay attempts 7 on average. He would have all the titles in today's game. Now that we've gone over 19 stars that were overshadowed by LeBron, I've got one more to round out the list. One of the best scorers to never make an All-Star team, Kevin Martin. This man was a walking bucket. For his 15-year career, he averaged 17 points, 3 rebounds, and almost 2 assists. Kmart could light it up effortlessly from behind the arc, and he averaged better than 20 points per game for half his career. The 2008 season was his best, averaging 24.6 while playing for the Kings. He wasn't much on defense, though. Sometimes the refs would call fouls on him, and dude was like, "What? I don't even play D, bruh." So there you have it. 20 forgotten stars from the LeBron era. Tell me who you would have put on that list that I forgot. After all, it's a list of forgotten players. Until next time, people, stay blessed.